Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to Old Man Rambles. I was talking to my father on the phone the other day. I was trying to figure out how to start to get this going. I was talking to my father on the phone the other day. Now, backstory on my father: he is in his late 70s. He is retired. Um, my father has a lifelong love of the blues music specifically, um, to the point where for 10 years he was the treasurer for the State Blues Society. He has since retired from that position as well, but he did it mostly, well, partly to help promote the music and promote shows and festivals and things, but also because he got into shows for free. But he still goes out to shows all the time. He's gotten to know people in the blues community. He's gotten to know some musicians and bands and promoters, specifically promoters. And there's a guy that converted his old workshop into like a stage and a venue, mostly for people who play outdoor venues during the summertime. When those venues close in the winter, they have no place to play. So he kind of opened this up to let some of the local blues bands and musicians perform in the wintertime. So, having said that, talking to my father on the phone, and he's like asking me if I want to go to a show with him. He's never invited me before, but it was the way in which he was going about it. He was like, "Hey, Tuna, I go see this guy. I'll go see his shows." Told me repeated himself about what I just told you, that he's got a place he got set up because of the summer venues, yada yada. He's told me that every single time I talked to him about it. But anyway, he's like, I got this guy that I go see all the time, and I was just kind of wondering if you'd like to go see a show with me. You don't have to answer now. Just take time to think about it. It's like, yeah, Dad, I'd love to go. He's like, no, don't answer me now. Think about it. I want you to. But it was, like I said, he was like being so hesitant about asking me, that I know it was because, he didn't want me to feel pressured, to say yes. And I was kind of thinking, as I was kind of chuckling to myself, that the whole thing was going on. His being, it's unlike him to be timid. He's a very forthright person, always has been. So to have him be this timid and roundabout in his discussion amused me. And but it kind of made me think, does my father forget that I am also a parent? Because I've been on the other end of that phone, or the other end of that conversation. I loved sharing my passions and my hobbies with my children, and some of that has rubbed off, and some of it hasn't. My older daughter is an avid reader. She's a huge nerd, plays board games and video games and stuff. My younger child is passionate about music. They're a music teacher. They play video games, less board games, don't read as much. But both my kids share a lot of my interests. They share some of my wife's interests. But I, as a parent, I enjoyed sharing my life with them, my interests, my joys, my passions, my hobbies. I enjoyed sharing them with my children. And I got a big kick out of when they enjoyed them as well, when they enjoyed them as much as I did, and sometimes more. So, I get that, my father wanting to invite me to share something with him, but I also get his hesitancy. I realized a very long time ago, although not soon enough in my opinion, and I think I've mentioned it before, that I'm not sure what the phrase I used, like, my words have impact, my words have weight. I'm aware that the things I say influence my children a lot of times far more than I intend them to. Like I said, there were times when I kind of realized, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I have no idea it's going to affect down the road. But several years ago, I realized that one of my kids had made a decision based on something that I had said, and it wasn't the decision that they wanted to make. They made a decision because they thought that's the decision that I wanted them to make. And when I realized that, it's like, oh, I have to be even more careful than I thought. And I have made a conscious effort, to be very careful about what I say in front of my children, to the point a lot of times I'll just keep my mouth shut, so yeah, I've been on that end of the phone, that end of the conversation. Um, but also, I remember, also from my childhood, something I should have realized sooner than I did, because I remember how hard it was to say no to my father growing up and as a teenager, even as a rebellious teenager. Um, I was never that rebellious. I was a very well behaved. Well, I didn't get in trouble. Let's put it that way. I was not necessarily well behaved, but I didn't get into trouble. Um, I didn't do, you know, that's another story. But anyway, um, my father would say things and make decisions, and I would have a very very hard time standing up for myself when he would make decisions for me, kind of thing, or when he would, um, say things, and I would have a very very hard time, you know, telling my father no and standing up for myself for the things he would say. So yeah, I've been on I've been on both ends. I've been on both ends of that conversation. Um, and like I said, it amused me to hear that coming from my father, and to realize that he doesn't realize that um, that I know where he's coming from. Anyway, good hunting, because I don't have a good ending for it.